What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the next video in the Build the Spotify app series. In the last part, we got search hooked up with the API and working. And in this part, we're going to customize the table view cells that we added to give our search results a nicer look and feel. So if that all sounds good, don't forget to destroy the like button down below. Go ahead and open up your XC workspace. Let me also go ahead and open up our simulator. And the first thing I am going to do is switch back to the simulator, which is the 12 Pro Max. And I'm also going to go ahead and hit the run button to make sure everything is still compiling and running and nothing magically broke since the last time we were adding to our project. So go ahead and just be slightly patient with it. Looks like no compile issues. There it goes. It's just building. We are going to go to the middle tab once it decides to load up. Sometimes the simulator is just unnecessarily slow. We're going to go here. Looks like everything is still loading. We're going to search for, let's search for gone. And we see a bunch of results that are categorized by the type of results. At the top there, you saw, I believe it was songs. We have artists, albums, playlists. So all of these are looking good. So let's talk about the custom cells that we're going to want. So for a song, we want to see the image, the name of the song, and the artist. For a artist, we just want to see their image and the name. We already have the name. For a playlist, we also want to see the image, the name of the playlist, and possibly who created it, like a subtitle. And for the fourth one here, we're going to want the image again, the name of the album, and the artist. So it seems like we need two different kinds of cells, right? One that has a label, a subtitle, and an image, and then another one which is just an image and a title, which we have for albums, rather for artists. So let's go into our project hierarchy. We are going to go ahead and open up views, and I'm going to create a folder called search results. We'll call it search results cells. And we're going to want to create two cells in here. Let's just create one to get started, and it's going to be a Cocoa Touch class. And we are going to subclass a UI table view cell since we used a table view for our search results. This one is going to be a search result subtitle. Or let me just do search results default table view cell. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to use this one where it has a single title and image, no subtitle business. So first things first, we got to go ahead and get rid of this code that it gives us in here by default. We're going to add a identifier property on here. We're going to override the initializer and say super init. And everyone cross your fingers that autocomplete decides to work today. This is going to be reuse identifier. We also want to bring in the required initializer. We're going to want to say layout subviews and say super layout subviews. You will also want prepare for reuse, super prepare for reuse. All right, let's spell that correctly. Super prepare for reuse. And let's think about what else we're going to want in here. So this cell is simply going to have a single image and a title. So we want a label on here. So I'm going to say label is a UI label. All right, we're going to create it with this anonymous closure pattern. We'll say label is a UI label. Let's go ahead and return the label here. We'll say label dot number of lines is going to be 1. No other fancy configuration on there. And then we also want an image view on here. So I'll go ahead and call this icon image view. We're going to say this is an image view. And once again, we're going to create this with the anonymous closure pattern. Let's go ahead and put parentheses right there. This is going to be a image view. Go ahead and return the image view in this closure. We're going to set one property on here, which will be content mode, and it's going to be aspect, content, and let's do fill. That'll probably look nice. In the initializer, we want to go ahead and do 3 things. We're going to add both of these subviews to our content view. So the label and the icon image view. I'm also going to say content view dot clips to bounds is true to make sure nothing overflows. And we're also going to introduce an accessory type on here, which is that little arrow that you usually see on the right-hand side of a cell. So that's going to be an accessory type. And I think the one that we want is a disclosure indicator. So this should be accessory type. And we want a disclosure indicator. Now let's see. So in the prepare for reuse, we are going to say icon image view dot image is nil. And we are going to say text label, or what do we call it? Label dot text is nil. We want to go ahead and lay all this stuff out. So the first thing we're going to lay out is the icon image view. We'll say its frame is CG rect. X is going to be 10, Y 0. The width will be content view height. And this will also be content view height for the height itself. That way it'll be a nice squared image. And the label is going to be pretty simple. So we're going to say label.frame is going to be CG rect. The X is going to be icon image view.right plus 10, Y 0. The height is going to be content view.height. And the width is going to be content view dot width subtracting icon image view dot right, subtracting, let's say 15 for 10-point buffer on the left and 5-point buffer on the right. Now, finally, we're going to be using this particular cell in multiple places, or we could be. So we want to have a view model that's associated to it. So this cell has two things that we want to configure. So I'm going to come up here, just create it here. I'll move it to its own file in a moment. We're going to create a view model here, and all we really should pass in is a title. And I'm also going to go ahead and pass in a image URL, which will be URL optional. And in this function, we are going to, rather in this class, we're going to want to import SD web image. But in this class, we're going to want to also create a function, is what I meant, which is going to be configure with view model. And it's going to be that view model. And we can say now label.text is view model dot title. And we can say icon image view set SD, I think it's SD set image with a URL and completion. URL is view model dot image URL, and completed is the closure for once that image is set. We don't want to do anything there, so we're just going to say nil. So let's go ahead and create a new file for this view model. Just to keep things nice and organized, let's see, let's go to our view model folder. We're going to create a new view model in here. It's going to be a Swift file. We're going to go ahead and paste in the name of that view model. I'm just going to swipe back on my trackpad. We're going to cut that, and we're just going to drop it into here like that. Go ahead and hit Command B, and everything should still be building. Let's go back to that file. I'm going to copy the name of this class, and let's go use it in our search results view controller, where we show the results in a table view. So that should be under controllers and other, and we should have a search results view controller right here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do now is let's find our table declaration at the top. We're going to go ahead and register this new cell. So we're going to say register this search table view default cell we created for its given identifier. And what we can go ahead and do is when we come across a album, what we're going to do is we are going to dequeue a particular cell for that type. So we're going to say here guardlets, and we'll say cell is table view dequeue reusable view here from the identifier that we just created for the given index path. We're going to try to go ahead and cast it. If we're not able to, we will say return a vanilla table view cell. That'll never get hit, that case. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and return cell here. I'm just going to go ahead and call this one a cell so it doesn't conflict with our naming again. We're going to be changing each of these cases for the other ones as well. So you'll see that fixed momentarily. But now we can say cell, and we want to configure it with a view model. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is say let view model is going to be the view model type. And we're going to create this with the model that we have for this case. So in this case, for a track, we have a song model. And I actually just realized I didn't mean to put this here. I meant to put this one under the artist. So we're going to say, let's go ahead and put that back. The text label text, we'll just say here song. And come back to the top one here, which is artist, and go ahead and paste that back in. But what we're going to say is from the model, we want to grab the name of the artist, which is going to be the title, and the image URL will be just their image. So let's go ahead and instead of calling this model, let me call this artist. So it's a little more clear when we're typing out our code. We'll say this is artist.name, and this one will be artist.images. I think there's an images on here. Perhaps not. Let's see, artist, external URL, type. Looks like we don't actually have a given artist image, which is unusual. So let's see what's in here. So an artist is an artist, and I think an artist should be returning images to us. So I'm going to add an optional on here. We're going to say it's images, and it should be an array of API images, just like that. And I'm just going to make it optional, just to see if anything, fails there. So let's see. Let's go back into our, first of all, let's go back to our controller and make sure we don't have any issues here. So I'm just going to return nil in for here, like that. That's artist.name. Go ahead and hit Command B once you pass in the view model right there. And let's fix up any errors that we have. So the first one that we clearly see here is this artist.name is an issue for some odd reason. Let's see what's going on. So we have an artist here, and we're saying this is artist.name. We don't need a comma there. That's clearly the issue. Go ahead and hit Command B. And let's fix the other errors that we have. We still have one error. It appears. Let's click here and jump into this. This one's returning cell where it should be a cell because we just renamed it. And let's see. We can ignore that warning. Go ahead and hit Command R. And let's see if we're at least leaving space over for the artist. So I'm going to type in gone. And this first one is songs, and this one is artists. So you can see there's clearly space now on the left for the artist image, but we need to get that image out first. So what I'm going to do is in this controller, wherever we say update with results, where we create artists here, I'm going to print out artists because I'm curious to see if an image array is available to us. Let's go ahead and print out artists. Go ahead and hit Command R, because we do want the image URLs from the API so we can actually show a nice image. Otherwise, the search results kind of look a little plain. So let's come back here and search for gone. And let's see if we have images in here anywhere. I believe we should. So here we do have images. In fact, we have artist, we have model, and we have an API image, which has a URL in it. So that's looking good. So we can get rid of that print. And let's come back. And if we actually go to, actually we can keep the model as is. I was thinking maybe we can change the optionality of images here to be non-optional. But what I don't want to break is in case we're using this artist model elsewhere, I don't want to break the fact that we're requiring images to not be nil. But what we can now do here is we can say this is artist dot images .first.url, which is actually a string. So we're going to wrap it into the URL constructor and coalesce a empty string, which will return nil. Go ahead and hit Command R, and we should be able to see our artist image. So go ahead and hit run, and there are our artist images. Now, one thing I'm going to call out is they're kind of flush up against the top and bottom of the cell. So we're going to fix that. I will fix that right now, I guess. So let's jump back to that cell. One thing I'm going to go ahead and do is simply subtract, I guess, 5 from the top and bottom. So I'm actually going to create here a property, or a constant rather, called image size, which will be a CG float, the height subtracting 10. And what we'll go ahead and do is we'll say the Y is now 5. The width is going to be the image size. The height is also going to be image size. And maybe we want this to be a circular image. So what I'm also going to do is say icon image view. And I just realized we put an E at the end of view. So that's clearly a typo. But we'll say corner radius is image size over 2. And go ahead and copy and paste that. And we can also say masks to bounds. And We're going to say that is true as well. And if you give it a run now, you should see a nice circular image with a bit of padding at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to search for gone here. And these are looking much nicer now. So we have these cool circular avatars for our artists. Let's go ahead and design the other cell that we're going to use in the top section here, as well as the bottom two sections here. So we're going to be lazy entirely, and I'm actually going to copy and paste this cell. And we're just going to tweak it because all we really additionally want in the other cell is another label below this primary label. So let's go ahead and copy this whole thing. And we also actually want to copy the imports here for UIKit and SDWebImage. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new file under views. And this is going to be, actually, we're going to put it under the search results folder. This is going to be search result subtitle table view cell. We're going to select Swift file and we're going to say search results subtitle table view cell. Go ahead and create it. Literally paste in that other cell that we had. You can delete import foundation and just change the name here. So this one, instead of being default, is going to be subtitle. All right, looking good. All we want in here is another label. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this label and say this one here is subtitle label. And I'm going to go ahead and say the text color of this is going to be secondary since it's a subtitle. And subtitles should generally be a little lighter than the primary label above it. Don't forget to add this as a subview of the content view as well, just like that. Let's see, we're going to need to lay it out, which we'll do in a moment, but also we want to go ahead and nil out this label's text and prepare for reuse. And we also want a particular view model for this type of cell. We don't want to use that other one. So let's go ahead and put a view model right up here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a title in here. We'll still need that. And we will also now need a subtitle. And the last one is an image URL, which is a URL optional, just like that. And let's see, so this image URL down here, let me just copy and paste this since the URL was capitalized. That all looks good now. Let's go ahead and change the type in the parameter at the bottom here. We'll say configure with our new view model type. This is going to be subtitle label text, and we can now say this is view model dot subtitle. And let's see, what more do we need to do? So we laid out the image. Maybe we don't want this to be circular, so I'm going to get rid of the corner radius and the masking to bounds. But we do want to lay out our label and our subtitle label a little differently since there's two labels now. All right, so we're going to calculate a label height. And label height is basically going to be content views height divided by 2, which will accommodate, two vertically stacked labels. So this is going to be label height, just like that. And the subtitle label will have the exact same frame, but the only thing that's going to change is the Y will now be label height. You can alternatively also do label dot bottom if that's better readability for you. That's kind of subjective. You guys can pick whichever one you prefer. So now that we have this, before we actually register and use this cell, I'm going to copy that view model name. We're going to open up the view models folder, create a Swift file, paste in the name that we had given it, and I'm just going to move this into its own file. You really don't have to if you don't want to. It's just much better organization. And now what we can go ahead and do is let's jump back to our search results view controller, which is under our controllers and other. We want, let's see where it is, search results view controller. We want to go ahead and register this table view cell. And I'm actually going to replace the vanilla table view cell that we were using before since we're not going to need it anymore. And let's see, this is the cell model we're registering, which is not what we actually want. We want to actually register just the cell. All right, and the identifier is going to be the cell.identifier. And now what we can go ahead and actually do is for each of these other cases, we can go ahead and try to dequeue this cell. So let's get rid of the original cell up here. And I'm going to put that right there. And what we're going to actually do is let me just copy and paste this and we'll just tweak the code to our need. So we'll paste that there. This cell now, we're going to try to cast to the subtitle table view cell, use its identifier. This one will be a subtitle table view cell view model. And keep in mind that this now has an additional parameter, which we called subtitle, which was a string. So I'm just going to pass in something in here, random like that. So now this one is supposed to be an album. So for an album, we are going to change the model name here. It'll be album to just reflect a little better what it is. This will be album.name. This will be album.artists .first.name. Otherwise, we're just gonna say default value of nil. This is going to be album.images. And let's see, I think that is non-nil. Yep, album.images is an array. .first URL, just like that. And let's see, I think that should be good. We just need to copy and paste this to the other two cases right below. So let's go ahead and get rid of this return cell. We don't need that. Let's paste that there. And let's also paste it right here for track. This one I'm going to say is a track model. For the name, we're going to say this is track.name. This one's going to be track. Let's see, this one should be the artist name, I guess. So track.artist.first.name. Otherwise, we'll say it's empty, just like that. And this one here is going to also be the track.album.images, but it looks like that doesn't exist. So let's just see if the autocomplete helps. Album.images.first.url, just like that. All your syntax highlight should come back if it's done correctly. And finally, this last one here is a playlist model. We'll go ahead and say this is playlist.name. The subtitle in this case is going to be playlist.owner.displayname, which is basically, who created the playlist. And I'm not sure if this is optional. It looks like it is not, so we don't need to give it a default value. But in this case, we'll say playlist.images first URL. So go ahead and hit Command B. Hopefully we didn't break anything. And hit Command R to build and run. And we should see nicer looking search results now. So let's go to the middle tab here. And let me go ahead and search for, let's search for home. Let's see what we get. So we see a bunch of songs here, which are looking great. We see we have a bunch of artists. We have playlists, and we even have albums. So albums and playlists, we actually already worked on in terms of tapping into these to open them up. So we have playlists, albums, but we have not yet done the artist or a song. So songs I've intentionally not done because we're going to hook this up universally with a player in the app. But the one that we could do right now is the artist. So we have a function here for did select row, and we call it delegate did tap result. Let's jump to where this is implemented. It's implemented here in the primary search controller. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, if the user selects an artist, let's go ahead and print out the model.external URLs. What I think we might want to do is the external URLs actually has a URL that we can open up within the app. So I'm going to search for an artist there. I searched for Drake. We tapped on Drake, and this has a Spotify key with a URL to that artist's page. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to pull out that URL. So we'll say guard let URL equals URL with a string. And we're going to grab that string from within external URLs. And if it's nil, we're going to go ahead and coalesce it to an empty string, just like that. And once you've gone ahead and created a URL, we don't want the user to actually leave our application. We want to open up a in-app web view. And we actually have a mechanism where Apple built that out for us, so we can actually import Safari services at the top of the search controller. And instead of creating our own controller with a web view, we can just use Apple. So we'll say VC is a SF for Safari, SF Safari view controller. You can go ahead and create this with the URL we created right above. And we're going to say present VC animated true. For those of you who might catch this, you might be wondering, well, we're in a navigation controller. Why aren't we pushing? Because we're pushing down here, but here we're presenting. You'll notice that even though we're doing present here, the Safari controller will still come in from the right. And that has to do with the semantics of how the SF Safari controller works. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. You have to use present. So we can go ahead and click on Drake. It opens up a in-app web view and it loads up Drake's page. Pretty cool. So you could build this out natively. We're just going to stick with the web view for this one. But now we can go back and we're still in our app. And of course, we can tap on any of these other artists and we'll be sent to their artist page. Looking pretty awesome. So there are search results in a nutshell. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. If you haven't liked the video yet and you enjoyed it, definitely don't forget to smash the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you've been following along, if you enjoy these videos, if you're into iOS. And of course, don't hesitate to comment anything down below, questions, errors. Try my best to help you guys out. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.